the barber was the connector.
Mm-hmm.
And I always enjoyed that about the barber. Like if, Johnny needed a job, the barber knew who was hiring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If some people had beef, the barbershop was neutral ground where they can come and hash that out.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford, man, and as always, I got the big homie KB, Mr. Kevin Brigance. How you doing, bro?
What up?
Yo, I feel like, high key, I feel like everybody should, like, we get most of our listeners on like the podcast platforms, but we also do YouTube, and I feel like I should just make a collection of all of our guests' eyes whenever Kev does his intro, because listen, like, no shade or whatever, but like most of our guests, they might have listened to it, but they've never watched it. So, and most times, a lot of people, they'll skip over the beginning and be like, okay, let me get to the good stuff when they talking, because that's what I do on podcasts. But his eyes.
He thought he was going to sleep, but nah, we woke that up. Go ahead, get up.
He was like, what they doing? And Kev come in and he's like,
no. See, here's the thing, man.
Go ahead.
I shouldn't have been surprised. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the part that I was like, it happened. I'm like, this is KB. Why am
That's KB.
Why at night, just at any time? Yo, man, my bad. My apologies. This happens every week. I forget to introduce our guest. We got Emarcus Bingham, barber extraordinaire. If you on the YouTube, you can see that chin strap gang. He all cut up with the nice fade. You know what I'm saying? He said he'd been growing that since middle school. But D, how you doing, bro? How you feeling, man? It's a late night podcast action.
Nah, man, I'm good. Man. Excited to be here. Kind of plug in with you guys, and let's see what we can do.
Man, we can make some things shake. I got a question though. I got a question, and it ain't that deep. It really ain't that deep. I just want to know. I cut my hair myself. I've been doing it since 86, 87.
Yeah.
High key, because one, I'm cheap, and y'all prices keep going up. No shade. Inflation happens. But two, because bro, I don't feel like waiting 3 hours to get a cut. I mean, but with all that being said, there is something that like feels good and satisfying about going to the shop and getting cut up. And it's just like, what is that feeling, and why is that so? I don't know if you can answer that.
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, for a man, it's one of the closest times that we can get to therapy, without going to, a therapy session, you know what I mean? And so it's an environment for the most part where men can be men can be vulnerable, but also to be able to get pampered, you know what I mean? Without feeling, yeah, you know what I mean? Like you still have your masculinity, you still feel good about yourself. And so there's art with it. And then there's the process of grooming that, you know what I mean? Like it can be transitional in the sense of, cleaning up the beard is a way of kind of cleaning away mental debris. You know what I mean? Cutting the hair is kind of like hitting the reset button. So, you leave the shop and it's an experience, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know. I hope that can kind of answer.
No. You so here's the thing. This is why I love how this podcast goes, because this is where I wanted to go. I just didn't want to say nothing. And people really think that I be like feeding people like what we going, but like I don't know. I just was like, if you don't answer it, I'm gonna figure out how to segue this way, because man, there's this move, and I love it, and I love it, and I love it. There's this move especially in the South, for barbers to start taking like psychology and courses and things like that, because at the end of the day, like, bro, like you guys, you guys are therapists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially, listen, I'm gonna go back to the story real quick. Kev, we had the homie Dom on here Man, that's my best friend, man. He's a wide receivers coach over at Little Elm High School. And so Dom and I are both from LA. And we met at UNT. And how we met is that we were both walking down the street, going to Troy's and to get a cut. And back then it was Andy's. But we was walking down the street and I look over across the street. I'm like, that dude from LA. Cause he just had the swag. He had the LA swag. He had on the crew socks. He had on the Vans. He had on the basketball shorts and the hoodie in Texas. I'm like, yo, you from LA. So anyways, we get to Andy's, bro. We sitting down. And of course, it takes forever to get a cut, bro. Like we sitting down there 2 hours. And I just didn't, we never said a word. And then finally, like the second and a half hour, we finally start talking. Man, he done went to school with my sister. Like everybody I played and, you know what I'm saying, Little League Pop Warner football with, he knew. And we was from different cities. It's just crazy how that happens. But anyways, going back to it, you know, the barbershop, man, it's just a community. And I really want to have this conversation about mental health, bro. Like when did this, like, when did it start getting real? Like y'all actually taking classes? I don't know if you've taken classes or anything like that, but like, when did y'all realize that you guys were like therapists, or has that always been the thing?
I mean, it's always been a thing. And truth be told, the psychology aspect has always been woven into the education. And so I think that's why it's kind of naturally been occurring for barbers. You know, it wasn't until recently that they kind of packaged it to let people know, like, hey, this is actually the art of psychology. But it's always been taught. You know, man.
Who packaged that?
Woven it too. I don't know who necessarily packaged it, but I think.
I mean, you just said when they package it, and I'm like, well, who packages?
Well, when I say they, I'm talking about. I'll refer to, like, let's say State Board, or let's say that curriculum. But I think it birthed from just barbers naturally talking about, like, we're unlicensed therapists. I think that was something that we've always said in the trade, and I think that evolved into, like, you know what, let's purposely put, you know, this part in the curriculum, you know. So
that's interesting.
What you about to say, Kev?
No, I mean, I've known E for a very long time, and for me, it's always been like the communication, the brotherhood, the laughter, the fun of it. You know what I mean? And I just love the environment. But I remember growing up, one of the things that I hated about going to the barbershop was the long wait. And so that's why I didn't want to go to the barbershop. But as you grow up and you matriculate and you start getting older and you can have the conversations and understand the conversations in those atmospheres, it's when you really start to really see. And it's interesting to me of the Black culture that's in the barbershop. You know what I mean? What you get from the barbershop. And so I think, man, like the barbershop has played a great role, but I don't think all of the barbers advice.
Nah. See, here's
I was about to say, but here's the thing though. I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's like being on the block, but you don't have to have your guard up.
Right.
I mean, you still with your boys, you know what I'm saying? You still with your dudes, you know what I'm saying? You still in there, but you can be real. And you hear all these different experiences. You got the old heads in there that are giving, you know what I'm saying? Y'all sitting here calling me youngsters and y'all getting called OGs because you know what I'm saying? Y'all about to be 40. You know what I'm saying? Y'all getting called triple OG. You know what I'm saying? But you can hear those thoughts, but then you can hear, you know what I'm saying, the new cat that's in there, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he's 25. He just started out. I'm not going to say he don't know nothing about nothing, but he ain't lived, you know what I'm saying? How the old folks say, hey, keep living, youngster.
Keep living,
you know what I mean?
Keep living.
I think that's what the beauty is about being at the barbershop, is that you get all these different experiences. No. But you was about to say something, man.
Well, no, I was saying that, you know, the art of it, you know, the conversation, I think that's, you know, that's where it's always been kind of like the cornerstone, especially when you talk about the Black community or, you know, culturally in the barbershop. So it wasn't necessarily the advice that the barber had, but it was the birth of answers being revealed from the community within the shop. You know what I mean? And so that was the byproduct of having to wait, you know? And so, and I've been in the game, I've been in it for quite some time. I mean, you know,
how long you been cutting hair?
Man, well, KB, what, 97?
Yeah.
All right, so
97.
Listen to this story. Listen to this. listen to this, man. So I wasn't licensed at that point.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
so this is a funny story. So, me and KB, we grew up in Houston. And so area that I grew up in, kind of rough, a little poverty stricken and whatnot. So I picked up the Clippers as a way to make lunch money. You know what I mean? And kind of help the household. And so, but in the back of my mind, the barber was the connector. And I always enjoyed that about the barber. Like if, Johnny needed a job, the barber knew who was hiring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If some people had beef, the barbershop was neutral ground where they can come and hash that out. So at our high school, we had an art area, like elective area, like they did drama and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they wasn't really using the area. And so what I started to do was I started to get to the school, like seriously, like 2 hours early and set up shop in the bathroom.
In the back?
Yeah, set up shop in the bathroom, man. And so,
bruh.
And so this was going on for a minute.
Like this is all I'm saying. Like I love our people, bro.
Yeah.
Because you listen. Hey, you're not seeing that.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that at Highland Park. Like our people will find a way. Like But keep going, my bad.
No. So, so this is what I started doing. I started, I was cutting hair. And this was like a whole enterprise at one point. So I'm cutting hair and we kind of had that energy going. You know what I mean? And so after a while, things started to kind of pick up. You know what I mean? Like, so this is, KB, we playing football as well. So like, I got to keep this under wraps. You know what I'm saying? And so it started to get bigger. And to the point where we nicknamed it the Breakfast Club. True story, man. We nicknamed it the Breakfast Club. And we kind of had like little passwords. Because, at this point, we're juniors in high school. And, so you getting freshmen, you getting all these people like, hey, man, I heard you cut hair. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like, we got, you know what I mean? Like, because this is under wraps. And so it got to the point, I kid you not, man, it got to the point, the girls started to kind of hang out. You know what I mean? And so they fixing their makeup, they touching up their hair. Then it got to the point where they started showing me how to fix their hair in the back. And then from that point, you know what I mean, I started to learn how to do women's hair too. So I'm a cosmetologist as well.
Bruh.
So yeah, man. And so here's a cool, man. I give our former principal, Warner D. Irvin.
Yeah, Irvin.
Because this dude, seriously, he kind of changed the path of my life, man. Because this dude was like, he was like Joe Clark from Lean On Me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, microphone and all, megaphone and all.
He was the type of principal. He walked down the hall, teachers they straighten up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, this whole time I didn't know, but it was a teacher that lived near, and she just saw all these kids get to school early and disappear. And she was like, nah, something ain't right. I can't even get y'all to go to class and you get here early? Nah, this ain't even adding up. So she told him, and they got cops involved because at this point they thought I was running this drug operation. Now hindsight, you know what I'm saying? Hindsight is 20/20. I didn't realize it, but at the time, I was dressing. So here's the funny part. So I didn't have all the cool clothes necessarily, but I kept my stuff really neat, really clean.
Oh, you was looking like a drug dealer.
I look like a drug dealer. And then, I'm at lunch. I'm at lunch and I got a pocket full of ones.
Yep.
So that she putting two and two together and she just like, all right, yeah, he's a drug kingpin. That's what's going on. So true enough, one morning, luckily nothing else was going on in there. Principal comes in with at the time looked like SWAT. and there I am with a pair of clippers, just kind of like
you on next?
Yeah, And so instead of kicking me out, because legally he had every right to do so, he got in touch with the local cosmetology school and then got me connected with them. He's like, hey, I see some talent. You need to do this. And so that's what put me on the legitimate path to doing it, man.
Absolutely.
I got one just like flashing red question.
Yeah.
How'd you get into school 2 hours early?
So But look, again, like the janitors are there, bus crew is there, and then it was the odd side of the building. It wasn't the popular side.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was the athletic band event. So the doors were already open because
remember Professor? Prop?
Yeah. So it was already like the geek. This is already the geek. So we were very smart about how we set things up. So we was like, hey, if you hang out here, ain't nobody gonna bother you because of who hangs out in that area.
Bruh, that's you. Yeah, like you need to tell that story more often, man. Because again, going back, man, our people, man, we will always find it don't matter what. It really doesn't matter what. And I'm not trying to make this a show about our people, but it is a show about our people because we are our people. But man, we really find a way. And I really want to steer it back to this whole mental health topic because that's really what I'm like, yo, like barbers, like y'all are it, man. Y'all were always the first, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you was the plug, but like you were not just the plug in sense of the connector, but you were also the plug in sense of like, who can I talk to?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean, like, hey, I know I can get some advice. It might not be the best, but I want to go back to this, man. And is that what's kept you, or what has kept you? You know what I mean? Like, is it that mental health aspect, or what has kept you so long?
As far as in the industry? Yeah. That's been a huge factor. When I say connecting, I mean that too in the the social sense as well. You know what I mean? Because every time you get a chance to cut somebody's hair, you learn a little bit more about their story. You know what I mean? And so, and it may be the only time this person gets the opportunity to share their story. And so even if it's just me listening, which I did a lot of early on and I still do, that could be the relief that this person needs,
Have you ever taken classes though to further yourself in that aspect?
No, not any professional classes. No.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because what I do now is I find myself maybe picking up a book or two or hearing, and it doesn't stay with me because, everything I've learned from experience. So I don't memorize the technical terms, but I realize what I'm doing on purpose, when I get a chance to like pick up one of those books. So I hear somebody give a technical term and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the name for what I've been doing. You know what I mean? So now, if I'm talking,
let me scurve in because he's really being really humble about himself right now. He's really because this is my brother, like, bro, like, there, and when I said certain information at certain barbershops, I can guarantee you anytime you sit down with this brother, you're going to get enlightened information. So he's really being humble about like training. It's just some barbers have seen life through other people's eyes where the information, no, he doesn't need any training. He doesn't need any help because he's lived it. Like he's lived it. And when I say he's lived it, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We went through some of the same struggles, and then when you go through those things, and that's what I love about barbers, especially in the African-American community, because just like how he said, he picked up the clippers when he was in high school. I can imagine how many Black kids pick up clippers and they start off in high school and are very successful in cutting hair, and then they have to accomplish the hurdle of getting their license, but they have experienced so much life and seen so much that when you sit in their chair, especially as they mature and they grow, like all they can do is pour into individuals. And I think that's one of the type of guys we have it with Emarcus. Like, man, no matter what he's going through, no matter what he's been, he's always had a positive attitude. He's always had a great outlook on life, and he's always been able to manage his way through. Many barbers go to cut hair and go straight to the seats and start cutting seats. My brother said he was going to try college, so he went to college, cutting hair in college. While he was in college, he was like, bro, I think my calling is really cosmetology and fighting through that aspect, going into a professional setting and learning in that professional atmosphere, and then even creating his business up into this level. So I think sometimes most barbers in this profession, and especially they don't need anything else but the life that and if they're really living a lifestyle or living a life that's going to be worth sharing with other people. And I think Emarcus has definitely had a life. That's why I wanted him on this podcast, man, because that. Definitely, bro, like he humbly like, man, I don't know, man, there's been many a times I've been on the phone, he be like, hey, bro, hey.
Hey, but I will say this. I will say there's power in just being able to listen and learning how to listen. You know, I will say that. And you know, and this is not to throw shade on anybody that's a professional, but I have professionals that are my clients, you know, and I've been in environments with them, and you know, and not necessarily, like I said, it is what it is, but like I feel like some people pursue that as a personal journey. And if that makes sense, like you may go study psychology because of what you've went through. Like you trying to understand yourself, and then you pursue that route. You know what I mean? So it may be more of a personal journey than necessarily like I'm trying to learn this to better the next person. Yeah, that's like a byproduct. You know what I mean? They're going to study to be better themselves.
What's your shop like, man?
Well, so here's the cool thing. So now it's more personalized. So now I do house calls, I do corporate accounts, and then I actually have a setup in my home. So it does, in fact, feel like maybe a session, like a therapy session.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you don't own a shop?
No. Okay. I used to have a shop in the Frisco area, and because I found myself in a unique situation. Like my clientele is very, very diverse, and in fact, at one point it was maybe 60% women, and then out of that 60%, those women were not Black. You know, and so my clientele is real diverse, and so I found myself in a spot where I had my young professionals who were starting to travel for work, and then I had my women who were becoming pregnant, and so it limited how I could service them. So I started doing a house call option, and you know, and once I started doing that, I was like, I love this because now I can get somebody in their own environment that's comfortable, less overhead. And then you know, a select few always have access to come to my place as well. But I still want to put together a brick and mortar here soon. Out in this area.
Say, have you ever thought about? I just saw this on, I think, Instagram. It was an old school dude. He'd been cutting hair for a while, but he decked out a Mercedes Sprinter. Yeah. And so that's what he does. And so it's just one chair in there. And it's just like, hey, you get your session. We could pull up to the spot or even, I mean, obviously depending on code, but I'm like, is that something that you're thinking about? Because I'm like, yo, like not only can you do those type of services, like those type of house calls and still have your corporate clients, but me, I'm really big, and I can sense it too, that you have a passion for our kids and things like that. And I'm like, bro, I was like, you can pull up to the spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And no, you know, you
can pull up on the homeless.
Right. No, but that's a model. That's a model that I am looking at. But I'm looking at more of like the because there's a couple of guys in the Metroplex that are doing it. And I'm looking at more of like the shuttle bus size vehicle.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I still want it to be an experience, you know. And to maximize the opportunity, I wouldn't mind having another barber or another stylist to be able to do it as well. To where
you said stylist, that's look, bro, that's a date.
Absolutely.
Little mama can get her hair done. You know what I'm saying? I can get a haircut and this shaved up. And by the time you finish with me, you're gonna be able to do somebody else because she's gonna be doing her hair for whatever.
No, but still. Nah, you just sit back, you can have your drink or something, catch up on the show, or you know,
and just talk.
Whatever. Yeah. So that's the experience. I wanna melt for the traditional brick and mortar. Because see, my vision, and I can share this with you guys, my vision is much bigger than the mobile or just the traditional Like,
Mm-hmm.
because of my experiences, I realized that there's multiple types of shops that I can do.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to do that. So a good example is a company, Paul Mitchell.
Yeah.
You may be familiar with the brand. So I had the opportunity to kind of work with them, do some things with them. And then one thing I noticed is that they had several other entities under that umbrella. So they have Paul Mitchell,
Yeah.
they have the Academy, they have Paul Mitchell, the salon, but then they have like sports clips or like supercuts. They have a couple of these other different things. And so I'm looking to do the black version of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was about to say, because I'm getting at this. All this stuff that I'm getting to is I'm like, bro, I'm like, why aren't you like formally training other barbers? I mean, I'm sure you probably mentor some along the way. Hey, you do this, you know what I'm saying? Cut this way, or have some conversations. But I'm just like, you should have an academy or something like that.
That's in the works. That's in the works right now. Yeah, you know. So I taught for a little bit.
To share.
I taught. Well, yeah. So you know, it is. Yeah, this is hot off the press. You know what I mean? Like so.
We have an exclusive.
Well, yeah. So the plan, the vision is, you know, to put a academy out here, the North Texas area, like the Princeton, McKinney area. But I want to evolve it. I don't want it to be. It'll start off as a barber and cosmetology institution, but then I want to add in fashion design. I want to add in sneaker design. I want to add in the artistry side where it comes to like the makeup, the skincare. So because it's something that we thrive in, and I think if we can create a platform where we can kind of upgrade the industry and let people see that we are the source of a lot of these trends, a lot of the
that's
then
good.
I think, you know, we can be on to something good. So being able to take a sister that's been doing something great, and then now I can pair her with the proper skill sets to legitimize herself. And then, you know, now she can get back into the market and be able to thrive, you know.
That's bro. That Kev, who was oh my goodness, what was the dad's name that we had on here? He taught himself how to sew.
So yeah.
For him and his daughter. My goodness, but my man is a black dude. My man has went viral. He has went on all types of shows. He taught himself how to sew clothes.
That's cool.
And he makes clothes for him and his daughter all the time. And like now she loves it. I think she's like 11 or 12 or something like that. And she loves it. And I'm just like, bro, like that is, he's got no training.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, like you said, fashion design, and I was just like, boom, light bulb.
Yeah,
man, I got a mentorship.
Michael Gardner. I got Michael Gardner.
Yeah. I was about to say, I know it was MG, but I couldn't think of his whole name.
Michael Gardner.
But I got I teach a entrepreneurship class at Louisville High School. It's like Shark Tank, where they literally take they come up with their own design, whatever, from scratch, and we take them through the entire market analysis, blah 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 blah. And at the end of the year, there's probably like a group of 8 people, and I think 5 get chosen to actually pitch their idea to investors, which are it's like Mary Kay Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, and things like that. And there's usually like $5,000 up for grabs. Well, my team, we won last year. Nice. We got $3,000. And so what happens is these kids are juniors, and then if they win, they come back and they do the class as seniors again. And so now the 2 teams that won, those are only people that are in this class. And so their whole objective is to launch their business. It's 100% theirs. And so that's what we're doing. And so I say all that to say is that the idea that my kids came up with is they wanted to make a print on demand shoe company.
Yeah.
And so just so they can design their own things and that people can have whatever they wanted in their own style. So like their competitors, Vans, because those are the type of shoes that they're doing. But what I'm saying is, like, if you had something like that, like they're taught some sort of design because they don't have the resources necessarily to go pay somebody to design. And so I'm teaching them how to use Canva. And I'm like, yo, I wish there was something where, because I mean, so the guy, he's Hispanic, and the girl, she's a mulatto, she's black and white. And so they have that they for the culture.
Yeah.
And so you can't just be taught by anybody.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You can't just get Nike training.
Yeah.
Like I don't want Sperry's to come in and teach me how to design some shoes.
Yeah.
Feel me? And so I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
I'm just, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, bro, like something like this would be like so dope.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want it in the Princeton McKinney era, because that's a move. I'm just that's like 20. I'm in Highland Village, so that's like 25, 30 minutes for me.
Well, see, the beauty is to get it started, and then you can satellite it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I started taking there's actually a sneaker design class. There's actually a sneaker design school, and KB, I'll try to get that info to you guys, because it's new.
Yeah.
It's relatively new, and it's cool. And I started it, but my plate's still too full to like go through 100%. But I do plan on picking it back up, because my sons are entrepreneurial driven as well. You know, that's the spirit that runs through this house. So it's good and bad, because there's nobody. We're all like jump off a building and learn how to fly on the way down. You know what I mean? So nobody's like, hey, you got a parachute? Like, we don't have that in our house. None of that.
Hey, bro. I've been with you on this journey since the beginning.
Yeah.
And through the challenges. Like, what's the biggest challenge you've seen for yourself as an barber, as a stylist? Like, what kind of advice could you give to up and coming new barbers, those who are still barbers trying to figure it out, trying not to close their business? Like, what are some like really cool advice that you could give for barbers just in general?
Well, all right. So I think a lot of times, most of us barbers, or stylists included, like we're artists. And so the thing about artists is we naturally don't color within the lines. So it's a gift and a curse. You know what I mean? So you put parameters up and we feel claustrophobic and we freak out. You know what I'm saying? Instead of thinking like, how can I evolve this line that I see? Like, I know it's a line here, but how can I maximize this? And so I think as barbers and stylists, one, we always need to trust the process and trust ourselves within it. And never forget that you are artists. You know what I mean? So you're constantly evolving. You know, you can pair and take anything to make it. So here's the thing. I tell like barbers and other stylists I talk to continue to be fluid. And what I mean by that is don't be so stuck in this one-dimensional way that you're trying to approach stuff. 2020, that killed a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this is what made it frustrating, though, because you can ask any barber, any stylist, it didn't change anything for us. They shut us down. But we were already like the biggest thing that you learn in barbering and cosmetology school is sanitation. Like you learn everything, honestly, to learn how to do hair once you're out. That's when the real learning begins. Yeah. But as far as school, they teach you how not to kill somebody. That's all of that. You know what I mean? So when they started to shut us down and they were giving the reasons why, we were like, this is what we do daily. You know what I mean? Like, and so a lot of people panic. But what I had to do was, because my clientele is diverse, because they understood what was going on, I found a lane that I was able to navigate through that lane. And like, so for instance, I have a lot of cops. So cops needing their hair groomed, that's part of their uniform. Yeah. So by default, I was able to navigate into that
essential
lane.
Service. You know what I'm saying? Essential service. Yeah.
So, you know, it's situations like that. You know what I mean? Like how I see the system, how can I maximize this for my advantage?
That's good.
So, but I wonder, what is that? I mean, you're in a different area. Yeah. What's that look like for the dude that's in Stop 6, or you know what I'm saying, that's in South Oak Cliff?
Well, it was, to be honest, man, it was better. So Princeton, right now on the map, Princeton still says that it has 6,000 people out here.
No, that ain't true.
It has more.
I was about to say.
It's not crazy more.
Oh.
It's not a crazy lot more. Okay. You know what I mean? They just became a 5A school like a year and a half ago.
Bruh.
Small town. small town.
5A is big.
You know what I'm saying?
So, anyways, keep going.
But like, so let's say somebody that's like in a stop 6 area, somebody that's in, let's say, a highly saturated, like just the urban market.
Yeah.
Then the key is, we're going back to what I was saying, was listening. So you're listening to what your current clientele needs, and then you also listening to what they're not saying. You know what I mean? So they need their haircut. They want it to be regular. So what's stopping you from being able to come to their place? You know what I mean? Like, what's at that point? Let's protect yourself. Do you have insurance? Okay, why don't you pick up?
I know a guy.
Yeah, why don't you pick up some insurance for you to be able to cut hair on location?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so now you kind of separating yourself from the pack. All right, let's do that. You know what I mean? All right. So now I have this. All right, 9 times out of 10, you've networked so far to get your clientele. So let's take it a layer deeper. Let's network with their network. You know what I mean? So you got Johnny in your chair. Johnny's a teacher. Hey, Johnny, this is my vision. Get Johnny to buy into your vision. Johnny knows somebody that's maybe on city council. All right, talk to city council. This is my vision for Stop 6. This is what I want to do. This sound like a good thing.
You said something really. You said 2 things: fluid and vision.
Yeah,
fluid. I remember when you had to be fluid, right? We was at UNT. You was cutting hair in that barbershop when nobody coming, and we were like, bro, what can we do different?
Yeah.
And you had to be fluid and change, because Josh, he was a barber. Like, he wasn't doing nobody. He wasn't, not that I can remember, you weren't really just naturally going to women and doing women's hair, but you became fluid, because I think sometimes when we think about barbers, all they think about is just they don't think about, man, let me go ahead and shampoo her hair. Let me go ahead and try to cut her ends for her. You know what I mean? And I think also as a barber, if you're struggling, you have your barber's license, cosmetology, I think you should expand yourself so that you can expand the market. Like, how can you look into different markets within where you are? Because, you know, bro, when you started doing Josh, when he started doing women's hair, like, disappeared. I was like, bro, they got me up here because of his gift and his talent to listen and the care to the customer, if that makes sense. But I don't think you would have experienced that if you weren't fluid enough to make that transition. Right. Does it make sense? And I think that opened up a totally different vision for what you can do in the industry. And I think we were talking about that at one point. I was like, bro, Tony a guy, all these other places. But when you say stuff like that, you don't see Black individuals going into Tony and Guys and those other places.
Right. And so that really changed the game. And so honestly, my thing, and I tell people to stay in student mode. Always remain a student. So honestly, in the beginning, it was fear. Like, I was doing women's hair, but I wasn't promoting it because it was still intimidating to me. You know what I mean? Until I realized fundamentally I can do some basic stuff, like what you're saying. Like, I can shampoo the hair. I can be really good at shampooing the hair, wrap it or whatever. I could get this woman set up for this other stylist. You know what I mean? So this could be my introduction. You know what I mean? So that's how I started bringing them in. And then so the women started coming in. I let them know, like, hey, you know, I'm a barber as well. You know, introduce me to your boyfriend. Introduce me to your husband. Introduce me to, you know, your son or whatever like that. And so now I'm able to kind of navigate both. And so when these other opportunities came up, I had to just push through that fear so I could go learn. You know what I mean? And so once I realized, like, I'm a mess up. You know what I mean? Like, that's a byproduct. You know what I mean? You got to be bad before you're great. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I was like, if I can minimize how much, like, bad it is by learning, you know what I mean? Like, I can hit this really quick and learn, then I can change the game. And so that's what started to happen. I started to get into these environments where at the time I may have been the youngest, or I was the only Black person, or I was the only guy, or I was the only straight person. Though I look up and then it was all of that. I'm like, I look around, I'm like, Am I the only dude? Or look, I'm like, oh no, that's a guy.
No, I got a wife. I got a wife. I got a wife.
I'm like, am I the only black? I'm the only black person. Wow.
But check this out though. Check this out. I don't want here's the thing. I don't want nobody to miss this, man, because Kev hit on it earlier. So I heard two things. I heard two like things that people can take in any industry that they're in, bro, in any walk of life that they can. So that's one, man, always be learning. Like always be willing to learn and add more tools to your tool belt, bro. Because like you said, like you were just being a barber, but you had your cosmetology license, so you needed to expand yourself. When you only got that barber skill, bro, you limited in things that you can do. And so I think that's one thing that everybody needs to take with you. Always be learning, always be willing to expand yourself. And the second thing is, bro, put yourself on.
Yeah.
Like ain't nobody else you can't rely on nobody else to promote you. You already doing the work. You already doing the women's hair. Like put yourself on and make sure at the end of the day, if they don't come, they don't come. But you need to do your part and make sure that you're putting yourself on.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna brag some more about my brother. He was top of his class at Tony and Guy. He was top of his class at all of these locations. But I think that's what's so important. I think that not only do we go and pursue something, but we pursue it with excellence, and we really put our all into it and try to get what we can out of it. And I think that's, to me, when I remember him in corporate, they were trying to get him to like, don't go out there and start your own. Like, we need you here to teach. Like, we'll have you a master teacher. And he was like, no, I got vision for something bigger. You know what I mean? And but that learning aspect, and not just being mediocre in that learning aspect, like really give yourself time to, because I tell you, man, my boy can do a cold fade. And he can do some cold colors. Like he's great at those two. But
you want to hit me up? Bro, I keep a zero cut. Look.
Man, but and that's you know what? That's the cool thing about the barbershop too in black barbers, bro. When you got a cut, man, that's like, man, don't talk about who can get a best fade. You gotta bring out clippers, and you gotta have 10 dudes so we can see who go line it up right.
No, that's the funny thing.
Go ahead, E.
No, but that comment there, see, that pairs like the artistry, you know what I'm saying, like with the personality too, because everybody barber is the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what that haircut is, their barber is the best. Like, seriously, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, because I get a new client and it's a relationship. So they already struggling with coming to a new person. You know what I'm saying? So I'm already got to set them at ease. You know, because like
that is the most aggravating moment of getting a haircut for me. Because I haven't been consistent with a barber.
Yeah.
So everybody I go to is brand new. They be like, "Oh, you want him to cut you?" I don't care. I just need you to put a one on and cut it down and give me an edge up. Like, if you can't do an edge up while you in here. And so the most like frustrating part for me, and I feel like I'm doing y'all a disservice because they like, "Well, what kind of cut you?" And I'm like, "Bro, I just want it even. Just cut it down. That's all I want."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, okay. You want to keep the beard?" Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. So what'll end up happening, you'll get the one barber that, and this was me. That's what you wore, but I'll start asking questions. I'm like, okay, man, what made you? How long you been rocking that, or why? I always ask why. You tell me that it's easy. All right, I do that, but let me do something on the neck. It's gonna still be in the easy family, but it's gonna set your part a little different. Like, all right, I'm gonna hit you. I'm going to do the one even, but you know what? I know you be coming in here pretty often. Let me taper that neckline out for you. Just set it up a little different for you. Visually, you still getting the haircut you want.
I love it.
You know?
But for me, it's like, it's like you said, it's easy. I don't like, look, that's the last thing I want to deal with. And if I don't want to come to you, bro, I can put my hand back there. I can get it even enough, and I can go about my day. I ain't got to worry about that. I can look.
But I think that's where we go back to the pampering, right? Yeah. So just the opportunity to know that I don't have to have my arm back there and reaching back there and trying to cut.
Well,
but then
I think people go ahead.
No, think about anything else that you purchase or you invested in and you may not use it to its full potential. You got it because it had the options. So a barber can separate himself by still doing the same cut, but letting you know that he has options. Letting you know that he has tools in the belt. Like, you can keep this one, but I'm letting you know what else we can do with this. And so what ends up happening is you'll still get the one, but you may remember him because everybody else was like, all right, do. But this guy told you what else can be done.
Oh, man. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Nuggets.
No. Oh, yeah.
Nuggets. Any barber that's listening right now, that was some nuggets.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. God bless America. Whatever. Yo, but we really are about to get out of here, man, because it's 9:30 and the kid's tired. And the kid is me. But E, man, I appreciate you, man. You have been a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, man, I appreciate
it. For real, bro. Like, no shade, no tea. Like, you've been awesome, man. And if anybody don't think so, they can kick rocks. What's one last parting ways? Last thing, man. Yeah, do it.
Hey, man. He need to be tucked in the bed. Go ahead, go put him to sleep. Man, what's some last parting words you got for us this evening for the people?
Man, well, I know you said something about mental health, man. And one thing I just want to tell people is that, there's resources out there. You know what I mean? We say that, there's resources out there. But for men in particular, man, like, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. There's opportunities to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? And I think because we naturally want to carry the weight, we kind of, we're kind of wired that way. We don't understand that explaining what this weight is can make it a little lighter. Understand, like, maybe you're still holding it, but maybe you were holding it wrong. Maybe if you adjust the way you're holding it, you'll be able to carry this a little better. You know what I mean? So
he said maybe you still holding it, but you holding it wrong. Hey, Kev, what you got, man?
Man, my boy said something.
I saw somebody out the corner.
So I know this dance, but just wanted to make sure she said hi.
Bro.
Yeah.
Here's the modest wife
right here
behind her husband.
Yes,
I uplift him every day.
Don't believe that.
We gonna have to have a whole new podcast.
No, we're gonna have to do the wives episode again because that was one of our most listened to episodes when we had our wives on.
Hey, boo.
Yeah.
My last nugget would be exactly what E said earlier, and it's listen. Listening is a technique. It's a skill. It's very important that we learn how to listen, and we can even start by listening to our kids. Like really listen to what they're asking, listen to what they're saying, listening to your spouse or your co-parent, your partner, your wife. Listen instead of always. I find myself always trying to find solutions, and so oftentimes my wife has to say, Delina has to say, hey babe, I just need you to listen. And so listening is a skill, a technique that each and every one of us can use. And we can also start with ourselves by listening to ourselves. Listen to your body. Yeah. If what's hurting you, what's not hurting you? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? That's one thing that I talk to all of my nutrition with my kids. I'm hungry. You ain't hungry. You just need some water. Go drink you some water. Drink a cup of water first. Then let's see if you're really hungry.
Yeah. Right? Like some old school coach.
But really, listen. It's so important because I think we're technology, information overload. We're reading so many things and we're trying to do so many things, but oftentimes we don't take the time to listen. So, family, make sure you take some time to listen this week.
Awesome. Hey, yo, and if you're still listening to this podcast, make sure you like it, subscribe to the podcast, man, share it, comment, do all those things, man. We're trying to run them numbers. We love you. We appreciate you guys. Until next week, take care. God bless. Peace. We out of here.